Well, hello everyone. I'm Brian Patterson, Conservative candidate for Kingston and the Islands. Thank you all for coming today. I have the honor of hosting Pierre Poilievre today for our Canada First announcement. I'll just say that we had an incredible rally here in Kingston last night with well over 4,000 people in attendance. It was an amazing moment to celebrate our national pride, and I think clearly demonstrates that the Conservative message of hope and change is resonating in our community. After this lost Liberal decade with costs and crime up and our economy down and under America's thumb, it's clear that the Liberals do not deserve a fourth term. It's time to put Canada first for a change, with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash resources, stop crime, and bring home jobs so that we can stand up to Donald Trump from a position of strength. Here to tell you more about our Canada First plan, I have the pleasure of introducing the only man who can stop Mark Carney, leader of Canada's Common Sense Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre.
Merci beaucoup, Ken Coyle. Quel groupe de travailleurs exceptionnels canadiens. Nous sommes ici afin de protéger le Canada, mettre le Canada d'abord pour faire changement et rétablir la promesse du Canada que chacun qui travaille fort peut gagner un grand chèque de paie pour acheter une belle maison dans un beau quartier sécuritaire, protégé par nos braves soldats sous notre fier drapeau canadien. And this incredible company, Ken Coyle, is the symbol of all that is great about Canada. Anju and Chandra Datta came to Canada in 1983 with nothing more than a suitcase and a dream. In fact, they were originally from India, but they had lived in the United States and decided that Canada was the place to start their lives. And they started a two-person business in a 4,000 square foot warehouse where this business began. They're now 100 times bigger. They now have 200 employees and 400,000 square foot facility to produce these incredible products, and they have built a beautiful life here in this country. We're in this to bring home the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a safe community, a beautiful house under our proud flag. That is the purpose of running for office, and is why I'm honored to be here today with the great Member of Parliament, Michael Barrett, a military veteran and Shadow Minister of Ethics, the great Brian Patterson, Mayor, three-term Mayor here in this community, and who will be an amazing Member of Parliament, putting Canada first and bringing change, desperately needed change, to this country. Yesterday, many Canadians watched with anger and anxiety as President Trump once again attacked our country and our jobs. Until yesterday, many Canadians, including me, still held out hope that President Trump might come to his senses and spare us of additional tariffs. Just last Friday, Mark Carney said he had a, quote, very productive, very constructive call with President Trump, citing progress. Unfortunately, Canada has not been spared. There is no progress, and there was nothing constructive or productive about Trump's tariff announcement. At midnight last night, Canada was being hit with new and completely unjustifiable tariffs on autos, in addition to the existing tariffs on lumber, steel, and aluminum. The Prime Minister also said last night that we can expect even more tariffs on our lumber, our pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and copper. Meanwhile, global markets are in turmoil. Our seniors are wondering what will happen to their savings after the tariff madness that came from the White House yesterday. Millions of Canadians woke up to the fear of losing their savings or their jobs. It's clear that tariffs must end. It's clear that Canadians must stand together. And I'm here to reassure Canadians that united we will get through this together. We will strengthen our country and stand up for our workers. First and foremost, we must support workers and their families. So to the hardworking Canadians and businesses directly hit by these unjustified tariffs, I say, your concerns are my concern today. We are here for you. A new Conservative government will make it a priority to keep industry moving and workers working. We know that once the link between worker and job is broken, it can take months or years to rebuild it. That's why it is much more economically affordable and much more important from the well-being of a family to keep the job in place. Des millions de Canadiens se sont réveillés ce matin en se demandant quelles sont les conséquences des attaques de Trump pour eux et leurs familles. C'est certain qu'on doit mettre fin aux tarifs, mais en attendant, on doit prendre soin de nous-mêmes. Avant tout, on doit soutenir nos travailleurs et leurs familles. À tous les Canadiens qui travaillent fort dans nos entreprises, qui sont touchés par ces tarifs, je tiens à vous dire qu'on partage vos préoccupations aujourd'hui et nous serons là pour vous. La priorité d'un gouvernement conservateur va être la protection des emplois. On sait qu'une fois le lien brisé entre un travailleur et son emploi, c'est difficile de le rétablir. C'est pourquoi il faut garder les gens au travail aussi longtemps que possible. We need to protect auto workers in Oshawa, Cambridge, Brampton, Windsor, Essex, St. Catharines, Oakville, Alliston, Woodstock, Ingersoll, and elsewhere. That's why I'm announcing today that a new Conservative government will eliminate the federal sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. Everyone who's looking to buy Canadian, to support Canadian workers, will be able to save money as a result of this announcement. Axing the GST on a $50,000 Canadian-made automobile will save $2,500 to the car buyer. By saving cash-strapped Canadians' families their hard-earned money, we will increase demand for Canadian-made cars and keep more workers on the job. And I'm calling on the premiers to match our policy and remove their portion of provincial sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. This will have the double effect of supporting workers in the auto sector and also tackling the Liberal inflation crisis that has made everything more expensive. Both federal and provincial sales taxes, were they removed, would save up to $7,000 for the purchase of the average $50,000 car. C'est pourquoi j'annonce aujourd'hui qu'un nouveau gouvernement conservateur va abolir le TPS sur toutes les voitures neuves fabriquées au Canada, tant et aussi longtemps que les tarifs de Donald Trump sont en place sur nos automobiles ici au Canada. Les Canadiens sont solidaires et cherchent à acheter local pour soutenir nos travailleurs. C'est pourquoi on va rendre nos voitures plus abordables. Abolir le TPS sur les voitures neuves de 50 000 $ va vous économiser 2 500 $. Cette mesure va permettre aux familles canadiennes de supporter leurs travailleurs ici au Canada, chez nous, en même temps qu'on économise de l'argent pour nos familles qui ont été déjà en souffrance auparavant. Ça va permettre de maintenir la demande des voitures fabriquées ici au Canada et les travailleurs pourront continuer d'avoir le travail à faire. Et j'invite les premiers ministres provinciaux à adopter ma proposition pour abolir leur part de la taxe de vente. Ça augmenterait les économies à 7 000 $ pour une voiture de 50 000. This will mean big savings. Et attends, c'est comme un pierre, deux coups. On va économiser l'argent pour les familles qui souffrent à cause de l'inflation libérale, mais aussi c'est de protéger les emplois ici au Canada et mettre le Canada d'abord. It'll mean big savings. For example, on a new Chevy Silverado from the factory in Oshawa, a new Honda CR-V from Alliston, a Toyota RAV4 from Woodstock, or a new Chrysler Pacifica from Windsor, and all the other affected industries, we have your back. We will stand with you. We know that some of these plants are temporarily shut down or are closed for retooling, but we will keep them eligible if and when they do reopen, and we will continue to monitor the list of vehicles made in Canada and add and subtract automobiles from eligibility based on the Canadian content that they have. I announced yesterday as well that a conservative government, a new conservative government, will protect workers for a change. We will set up the Keeping Canadians Working Fund. This will be a temporary targeted loan program for businesses directly hit by Trump's tariffs to allow them to keep workers on the job until we get through this tariff madness. We will start with a fund of $3 billion. These will be loans, not expenditures, and we will use the money to lend to companies who are desperate to keep employees on the payroll throughout this period of uncertainty and tariff obstacles, so that those workers can keep working, keep paying taxes, can keep supporting their families. At the same time, I will push hard to end the tariff madness. On my first day on the job as Prime Minister, I will call the President and demand that we rapidly renegotiate the CUSMA agreement on a very tight timeline. That will allow us to find certainty. I will also propose that in the meantime, both sides suspend tariffs. To be clear, no counter tariffs from Canada will be removed unless and until the Americans do the same. But the argument to President Trump will be this: put aside the uncertainty, the job loss, and stock market crashes on both sides of the border. Pause the tariffs until we can hammer out a deal. Now, that deal will have to be in the Canadian interest. First and foremost, we will protect Canadian sovereignty. Certain things will be non-negotiable. We will protect our land, our water, our laws, our government, our culture, our language policies, and our borders will always be exclusively under our control. Second, we will demand an end to all tariffs, free trade, both ways. But third, we believe we can convince the Americans it's in their national and security interest to get a deal, because we will use all the proceeds of that deal, all of the economic benefits that flow into the federal coffers, to massively rebuild our military so that we can carry our weight and keep our continent safe. This will create a powerful incentive for Americans to say yes. But, of course, there's no guarantee with Trump. As we're learning, nobody in Canada can control Donald Trump, contrary to many of the suggestions and the unrealistic expectations that some have been setting. Which is why I have to make clear, and I will be making clear to President Trump, that any commitments we make that America wants to happen on defense, border cooperation, or market access can and will be instantaneously withdrawn if he violates any part of the agreement. We will only uphold our side of the bargain as long as he holds up his side of the bargain. That's how we create the leverage to protect against a president who changes his mind and breaks his word. Still, No one can control President Trump, and no one can predict what he will do. The only thing we can control is what we do here at home. And that's why the best way to stand up to President Trump is to make our economy stronger and more independent from the Americans. The economic plan I've been announcing throughout this election is to unleash our industry, to make it strong, self-reliant, sovereign, so that we can stand on our own 2 feet and stand up to President Trump. My plan will cut income taxes for all Canadians so hard work pays off for a change. We'll eliminate the industrial carbon tax so that we can bring back steel, manufacturing, aluminum, fertilizer, oil and gas, and other heavy industrial products that are the backbone of a modern economy. It will allow Canadians to allow tax-free reinvestment of capital gains, which means that companies can reinvest in beautiful factories that employ Canadian workers like this one. I just spoke to Chandra, who started up this place. All of this stuff, all these machines that these incredible workers operate, that is investment. The more of these machines, the more of these factories we have, the more powerful paychecks we will generate, and the more we will be independent from Trump. A tax-free reinvestment in Canada of capital gains will be like rocket fuel for our economy, allowing us to soar over the American economy. I will axe the sales tax off new homes to get more homes built and create more demand for the Canadian lumber that Donald Trump is attacking. Build Canadian homes with Canadian wood, supporting Canadian loggers and tradesmen. For the last 10 years, the Liberals have had their boot to the neck of our energy sector. But it's not dead yet, and my plan will bring it roaring back to life. I will relaunch our energy sector by repealing Liberal No New Pipelines Law C-69 and lifting the Liberal energy cap to produce more energy. Mark Carney has said he will keep the legal ban on pipelines in C-69 and that he will keep the energy cap. That is economic suicide. It is another reason why President Trump has supported Mark Carney's re-election in this campaign. Not just more pipelines, but more LNG, large-scale mines, and nuclear projects. It will send hundreds of billions of dollars. If Mr. Carney goes ahead with C-69, he will be blocking pipelines, mines, nuclear plants, and other projects, sending hundreds of billions of dollars fleeing south right into the hands of Donald Trump. And it means that Western Canadians will never be able to sell their oil directly to Eastern Canadians. Instead, we'll have to keep passing our energy south at a discount and even sending energy through the American economy just to send it back to Quebec and Ontario. That is not change. That is more of the lost Liberal decade. And the choice on resources is this. After a lost Liberal decade of driving our jobs south and driving our economy under the American thumb, do the Liberals deserve a fourth term in power, or is it time to unlock our resources, bring home our jobs, and become a strong economy for a change with a new conservative government?
Le plan économique que je présente dans cette campagne électorale est un plan pour libérer notre industrie pour que le Canada soit une nation forte et souveraine, capable de se tenir debout face aux menaces de Donald Trump. On va éliminer les impôts sur le revenu pour tous les Canadiens qui réinvestirent au Canada. On va éliminer la taxe carbone sur l'industrie et nous allons le faire pour tous, pour vrai et pour toujours. Ce plan va permettre aux gens de réinvestir leurs gains en capital libre d'impôts, à moins que ce soit investi ici au Canada. Nous serons maîtres chez nous. Ça signifie que les Canadiens vont pouvoir éviter à payer au gouvernement quand ils veulent payer des chèques de paie. Ainsi, on va créer des emplois et de la croissance et donner à nos travailleurs des outils, la formation et la technologie dont ils ont besoin pour être concurrentiels. Je vais abolir la taxe de vente sur les nouvelles maisons pour stimuler la construction et la demande pour notre bois d'œuvre. Au cours des 10 dernières années, les libéraux ont étouffé l'industrie énergétique. Ils ont bloqué GNL Québec, un projet qui aurait aidé l'industrie de l'acier et des métiers au Québec, et tout en nous permettant de contourner les Américains pour envoyer nos ressources outre-mer. On va aussi éliminer le plafond sur l'énergie que les libéraux ont mis en place et que M. Carney maintiendrait. on va éliminer C-69, le projet anti-développement qui est anticonstitutionnel et qui va empêcher la construction des grands projets à travers le Canada. Malheureusement, M. Carney continue de supporter exactement les mêmes politiques économiques qui ont fait chuter notre économie depuis les 10 dernières années. Il ne représente pas un changement. La dernière chose que Donald Trump souhaite, c'est un premier ministre canadien qui va rendre notre économie compétitive et libérer l'exploitation de nos ressources naturelles. M. Trump ne veut pas que nous soyons maîtres chez nous ici. Il veut garder le Canada faible avec les politiques économiques faibles des libéraux. C'est pour ça qu'il a donné son support à Mark Carney. Moi, je vais renforcer notre économie, libérer nos ressources, couper la bureaucratie, les taxes et les impôts pour récompenser le travail ici au Canada. Nous allons triompher sur le défi mis devant nous. Les Canadiens devraient être rassurés que nous sommes un peuple fort et uni, et on va se tenir debout face aux menaces de Trump avec un changement pour mettre le Canada d'abord. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. We'll now take questions from the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. My
morning.
name is Bill Hutchins with Kingstonist.com.
Hi, Bill.
How are you?
Great. How did you like our rally yesterday?
It was nice. Big crowd.
Very big. How many people do you think were there?
3,000 to 4,000.
It's pretty big. When was the last time you had that in Kingston?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I understand too that a lot of your supporters came out from across the region as well, not just this riding. So
that was nice of them in this rain. It was a rough night to drive in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did John A. Macdonald have crowds like that when he was the MP here?
He may have had a few crowds around City Hall back in the day. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask you about one of the questions I'm going to ask you is about putting Sir John A.'s statue back in Kingston and the impact that might have on Indigenous relations and truth and reconciliation. But I did want to also touch on this other question here that experts have predicted that Kingston will be kind of shielded from the impact of the severest impact of the tariff war, partly because we're a government town. Lots of government employees, including a large military base, as you know. But you talk about slashing government jobs and bureaucracy as part of your platform. So I want to know what you would say to those anxious federal workers in this and other communities across the country. Are their jobs safe in these uncertain times?
Yes, we've said our reductions in the federal bureaucracy will be done by attrition. We have 17,000 public servants who voluntarily leave every single year, many to retire, many to accept other job opportunities, and that allows us to reduce the cost of the bureaucracy without giving out mass pink slips. I would also add that we're going to expand our military, which will be great for Kingston because of the wonderful military footprint we have here. I think we also know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses, manufacturing businesses like this one here, Can Coil, who will benefit from my Canada First economic plan to bring home jobs. We're going to cut income tax so that workers pay 15% less to the federal government off their paycheck. That'll support local businesses who will have richer customers buying more food and more products. We'll bring in the Canada First reinvestment tax cut, zero capital gains tax on reinvested gains so that we can grow our economy. We'll get rid of the industrial carbon tax to bring back industry jobs. We will also speed up home building. There's an enormous housing shortage here in Kingston. By axing the federal sales tax on new homes and incentivizing municipalities to speed up permits, we're going to be building homes, creating jobs for carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and others. After the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy now under America's thumb, we can't afford to give Liberals a fourth term. We need a new Conservative government. that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash our resources, and bring home our jobs for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
The statue, I mean, I believe we should put the John A. Macdonald statue back up. I mean, you agree with that? What do you think? Look, it was John A. Macdonald who first had the vision of resisting American annexation. His entire life was dedicated to a great East-West nation. That's why he put together Confederation and why he built the railroad. An East-West railroad was designed to bind us together with iron and steel. And that's exactly what we need to do now. We need East-West pipelines, roadways, transmission lines, and other resources that will link our nation from east to west and reverse the hopeless reliance the Liberals have made us face with the Americans. You know, President Trump wants to keep our economy weak by supporting Mark Carney and keeping the Liberals in power for a fourth term. But what's good for President Trump is not what's good for Canada. We need a new government who will put Canada first for a change, and that includes standing up for and uniting around our brilliant history. And that history includes John A. Macdonald. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Yeah. Good morning.
Hi, Abigail Beeman, CTV News. Your party has dropped 4 candidates in 2 days. How can Canadians be convinced of your vetting process for people you believe are fit to govern this country? And here in Kingston, how does that vetting process extend to Mr. Patterson for his previous connection to a church that supported conversion therapy?
Well, first of all, you omitted from your question that Mr. Patterson renounced conversion therapy years ago. And so the question is not accurate. Secondly, our vetting process is stronger than all the other parties. That's why we have a zero tolerance for anyone who acts unacceptably. This is the exact opposite of what we saw from Mr. Carney, who tried to keep on as a candidate someone who had asked for his conservative opponent to be handed over to the Chinese Communist government on a bounty, to be imprisoned or maybe murdered because he was a dissident against that government. Mr. Carney said that it was a teachable moment. He's right. It taught all of us that Mark Carney will never put Canada first. He sold out. He went to China to get a $250 million loan from the Chinese government while he was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. He met with top officials in the central bank. He met with the mayor of Beijing. He built his own profit off of compromising himself and his company. He still has those compromises because he has money, untold millions, invested in Brookfield that owes all of this money still to the government in Beijing. So how are we going to know when he's acting for Canada rather than acting for his bottom line? And that's why I reiterate my call. Your question was about vetting. Well, Canadians should be able to vet Mark Carney's conflicts of interest by having him publish all of his financial interests so that Canadians know what interests he has that go against Canada's national interests. After the lost Liberal decade of selling out our economy, driving away our resources, taxing away our jobs, we can't afford to give Liberals a fourth term. We need a new Conservative government that will bring home the jobs to this country so we can stand up for ourselves in a position of strength for a change. Thank you.
En français.
Merci beaucoup. Ça montre que nous avons une discipline pour protéger la qualité de nos candidats. J'ajouterais que c'est exactement le contraire avec M. Carney, qui a essayé de garder en place un candidat qui a encouragé les gens de donner son adversaire conservateur au gouvernement chinois pour être tué ou emprisonné. M. Carney voulait le garder en place. Il n'a jamais décidé d'expulser ce candidat. C'est quelques mois à peine après que M. Carney est allé en Chine pour recevoir un prêt d'une banque gouvernementale d'à peu près 250 millions de dollars, un conflit d'intérêts qui reste en place. En parlant des vérifications de nos candidats, moi, j'encourage M. Carney à publier tous ses intérêts financiers pour que les Canadiens puissent savoir les conflits entre l'intérêt national du Canada et les intérêts étrangers qui vont à l'encontre de notre pays. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Sarah Rachel,
morning.
Canadian Press.
Thank you.
Yesterday, in an op-ed, Preston Manning wrote that people in Eastern Canada need to recognize, he said, that a vote for the Liberals is a vote for Western secession and a breakup of the country as we know it. Do you agree with Mr. Manning, and what do you say to people who feel that way?
No, we need to unite the country. We need to bring all Canadians together in a spirit of common ground. Let's unite our nation, because after the lost Liberal decade of blocking resource jobs, driving $500 billion out of our economy to the U.S., taxing away our workers, and selling out our country, we can't give the Liberals a fourth term in power. What we need is a new Conservative government that will unite Canadians, unleash our resource production, cut taxes on our workers and entrepreneurs so that we can bring home our jobs and stand up to President Trump from a position of strength for a change. Thank you.
En français.
Non, je suis en faveur de l'unité canadienne parce qu'après la décennie perdue des libéraux, qui a divisé notre pays, expulsé 500 milliards de dollars d'investissement vers les États-Unis, bloqué nos ressources naturelles et affaibli notre économie face aux Américains, il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper taxes et impôts, approuver des projets de ressources naturelles, ramener nos emplois ici au Canada pour qu'on puisse répondre aux menaces provenant du président Trump avec une position de force pour faire changement. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. We will now go to the final question.
Thank you.
Bonjour, M. Poilievre.
Bonjour.
Fanny Olivier de Radio-Canada.
Bonjour.
J'aimerais savoir, est-ce que, à la lumière de ce que vous avez entendu de Donald Trump hier, vous croyez toujours que les États-Unis sont un partenaire fiable?
Non. Non. Malheureusement pas. C'est triste. J'aime le peuple américain, mais leur président a choisi de trahir le meilleur ami que les États-Unis ont jamais eu. Et c'est très malheureux et ça va être très mauvais pour eux aussi. On fait face à la réalité, par contre, qui sont notre voisin le plus proche. C'est la superpuissance militaire et économique le plus grande dans l'histoire du monde. On ne peut pas contrôler ce que le président va faire. Donc, on doit contrôler ce qui est dans notre contrôle, c'est-à-dire de renforcer notre propre économie. Après les décennies perdues des libéraux, où ils ont bloqué des ressources naturelles, taxé nos travailleurs et nos industries, expulsé 500 milliards de dollars d'investissement aux États-Unis et nous ont affaiblis face aux Américains, on ne peut pas prendre le risque et payer le prix d'un quatrième mandat libéral. Il nous faut un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va approuver des projets, couper les taxes et les impôts pour ramener les jobs et l'investissement ici au Canada, nous renforçant pour faire face à Donald Trump avec la force pour faire changement.
In
Merci
English.
beaucoup.
In
En
English,
anglais?
please.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. In English? Sorry. Yeah, okay, in English. In English, I would reiterate that, no, I don't consider the Americans to be a reliable trade partner right now. Their president has chosen to betray America's best friend and closest ally. I'm saddened to say that because I love the American people, but there's no denying that there is a president right now who consistently betrays the Canadian people and shows that he has been unreliable to deal with. We can't control the president. Nobody can. We're learning that today, despite the very unrealistic expectations that certain people tried to make, the very unrealistic promises that people were making right up until today. What we can control is what we do at home. And after the lost Liberal decade, the Liberals, they've proven that what they will do is block projects, tax our industry and our workers, driving $500 billion out of our economy to the U.S. They want to continue to support the same anti-resource projects and laws. This week, Mark Carney gave another incredible gift to Donald Trump. He's going to keep the No New Pipelines Law C-69 in place, a law that will make sure we never again build a pipeline to take Canadian energy to Canadian markets and out overseas, that we never build any export plants for natural gas, that we never have any more major mining projects approved. That's more of the same Liberal ministers, same Liberal policies, same Liberal weakness. We can't afford the risk of a fourth Liberal term. We need a change in this country with a Canada First government that will axe taxes, approve projects, bring home our jobs and resources so that we can stand up to the Americans from a position of strength for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes.
Thank you very much. Great to
Ça
meet you.
conclut la conférence de presse. Thank you. That concludes today's press conference. Ça conclut la conférence de presse.